Hello, anyone not still living in the 1970s. We interrupt your day to bring you this announcement. Husker Ninja is in the building. Alright, guys, we are here today with episode number 52 of the Nebraska City Wildcats Dynasty here on NCAA 14. Today we've got the off-season for Season 3. And I thought about starting the off season with a recap of the previous season, but this video is going to be long enough as it is, and so I just cut it to get it under 50 minutes. I will put the time the actual off season starts in the description, as we're starting by looking at award winners and All-Americans and stats. So in the description, you can find where the actual off season starts if you want to skip to that. As you can see, Irby won the Heisman. Jordan finished second. Now we're looking at first team All-Americans. And at quarterback, it's Nick Montana from Tulane. Gordon, but Nebraska City-wise, Arthur Irby will make the first team All-American as a senior running back. We also got Alonzo Kemp, the redshirt sophomore defensive end. Matt Ramsauer, the redshirt freshman defensive tackle. Stephen Hall, the true freshman middle linebacker. Aaron Smith, the sophomore corner. Kevin Schneider, the true freshman free safety. Harry Hombuckle, the senior strong safety. Those guys are all first team All-Americans. And now looking at second team All-Americans. No one on offense. But David Williams, redshirt freshman free safety, and Bo Mixon, redshirt freshman strong safety, are both second team All-Americans. And if we skip to all freshman team, there's a lot of Wildcats on that too, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Jack Anderson at left tackle, Jermaine Allen at right guard, and I think that's it for the offensive side of the ball. But on defense, there's Matt Ramsauer, there's Stephen Hall, Dennis Henderson, the redshirt freshman right outside linebacker, Kevin Schneider, Bo Mixon, and I don't remember, and Michael Tyree made it as the all-freshman NCAA returner. And if we look at all-conference, well, you got Randall Glopter, Arthur Irby, Brandon Hayes made it from Memphis, Kendrick Coe, and then Chandler Green, Alvin Roden, Jermaine Allen, Rhett Frazier, all those offensive linemen, first team All-American, or first team All-Conference. Nebraska City had a really good year, and on the defensive side, there's Kemp, Ramsauer, Drew Jones, Stephen Hall, Dennis Henderson, Aaron Smith, Chris Smith, Kevin Schneider, Harry Hombuckle, and Terry Hombuckle, the punter, made it, as did Tyree as a returner. Second team, you got Jamal Gonzalez, Micah Smith, Jonathan Anderson, the fifth offensive lineman, Derek Smith, and he was a guy we used all season, so we got him to second team All-Conference. Henry Fox at left outside linebacker, Tate Simon, and then David Williams, Bo Mixon, and Adam Williams, our redshirt freshman kicker, made it as second team All-Conference. So it was a very good year for Nebraska City, obviously, as they won the title against Wisconsin. But as we were going through the award winners, Aaron Smith takes home the Bednarik. Hall came in second, Hombuckle in eighth, Ramsauer in ninth. Ramsauer takes home the Nagurski with Kemp in second and Hall in 10th. Our defense was definitely the strong point on the year. Although personally I feel like Randall Glopter, with his experience, he helped out the offense enough, but a lot of the individual accolades will be on the defensive side because we had a really, really good defense this year. Cam Jones from UTSA takes home the Bolitnikoff. Jerome from Georgia takes home the Mackey. Bourne from Ohio State takes home the Outland and Remington. Ramsauer takes home the Lombardi. Kemp was in second. Hall came in second for best linebacker. Aaron Smith takes the Thorpe. Williams in sixth. Hornbuckle in eighth. And Aaron Smith did tie the school record for interceptions in a season this year. It was one away from the outright lead, but just not to be. So I will be sure to keep that as a side note. He did tie the school season record in interceptions. Tyree came in fourth for best returner. And he's only going to get better as he's going to be a redshirt sophomore this year. Now we take a look at the season stats. Glopter had a 158.5 QB rating. He went 209 out of 310 for 2,413 yards. He had 35 touchdowns, 18 picks, averaged 172.3 yards a game. He had a 67 completion percentage, averaged 11.5 yards per completion. And he had a long of 59, but he was also sacked 27 times. So all in all, not a bad junior season for Randall Glopter, and we certainly hope we have him back for one more run at it. Irby finishes his career with a good senior season, winning the Heisman. He had 397 carries for 2,311 yards. That's a 5.8 yard per carry average. He had 13 touchdowns, a long of 62, had average of 165 yards a game, 651 yards after contact, 10 runs of 20 or more yards. He had no fumbles, and he had like 20-some broken tackles. Glopter had 113 carries for 508 yards, averaged 4.4 yards a carry, 12 touchdowns, a long of 70, and he had 207 yards after contact, but also 7 fumbles. And a lot of his yardage, all those 27 sacks factor into it as well. Jeremy Randall, the redshirt freshman, the backup tailback, he only had 26 carries for 31 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns, including what was ultimately the game winner for us in the national championship. So we're just going to hope he progresses and he's ready to sort of take over that feature back role for us next year. Maxwell had 8 carries for 24 yards. Receiving-wise, Irby led the team in receptions with 56. He had 442 yards, averaged 7.8 yards per catch. Had 5 touchdowns and a long of 40. Averaged 31.5 yards a game. 532 yards after contact, or yards after the catch, I mean. Gonzalez had 47 carries, 522 yards, 8 touchdowns, averaged 11.1 yards a reception, a long of 37. And I would expect him to be a bigger part of the passing game, even more so than he was this year, but coming up next year, that is what I would expect. Micah Smith had 40 catches, 443 yards, 3 touchdowns, averaged 11 yards per reception, had a long of 25, but he also had like 11 drops. Oh, sorry, he had 14 drops. That's even better. Burdett Meadows, the senior, had 32 catches, 510 yards, averaged almost 16 yards a reception. He had 7 touchdowns, a long of 59, which I think that came in the LSU game on a Hail Mary it was on a 4th and long, I think. He had 5 drops, but Smith had 14, so who are we to judge? Coe, also a senior, had 28 catches, 462 yards, 9 touchdowns. He led the team in receiving touchdowns. And he also had 5 drops. Jeremy Randall had 7 catches, 43 yards, averaged 6.1 yards a catch, and he had 2 touchdowns. A long of 12. And he also had 3 drops. And then Gary Clifford, the backup tight end, had 1 catch for 11 yards and a score. Now we look at defensively. Bo Mixon led the team in tackles with 58. Hall was right behind him with 57. Humbuckle was third with 54. Schneider had 40. Henry Fox and Dennis Henderson both had 30. Ramsauer had 29. Chris Smith and Alonzo Kemp both had 28. Aaron Smith had 25. Williams had 18. Derek Smith had 13. So we had 13 tackles using him all year. That's not too terrible, especially considering my users almost never have great stats. Drew Jones also had 13 tackles. Simon had 7. Juan Suggs, a backup safety, had 6. And now we're getting into the offensive players getting tackles after interceptions or fumbles. Ramsauer led the team in tackles for loss with 24. Kemp had 20. Fox had 14. Dennis Henderson had 13. Stephen Hall and Harry Humbuckle both had 10 each. Drew Jones and Derek Smith each had 9. Which, again, we didn't do too bad using somebody for once. That's a pleasant surprise. Oh, I'm sure I could have had a boatload more tackles and I just missed it, but oh well. Mixon had 5 for loss. Williams and Schneider both had 4, as did Chris Smith. Myers had 2, and Clinton Hearn had 1, as did Suggs and Aaron Smith. Kemp led the team in sacks. He had 18. Ramsauer was right behind him with 17. So those two had a combined 35 sacks. Henderson added 7. Derek Smith had 6. And again, that was as I was usering him, so that's not too bad for being usered by me. Jones had 5. Fox had 5. Williams had 4. Humbuckle had 3. Hall had 2. Myers had 2. But going back to Kemp and Ramsauer, Kemp set a school record for sacks in a year, I do believe. We'll check the school records later and find out for sure. And so Ramsauer very nearly set, well, I'm sure he probably actually tied the school record, and then he just got passed by Kemp. So they were both very productive this year. We'll see if that continues into next year. Aaron Smith led the team with 9 interceptions. Holland Schneider and Chris Smith all had 4. Williams had 3. Simon and Bo Mixon both had 2. And Harry Humbuckle had 1. So, we had a lot of interceptions this year. We played very good defense. I think we had a good turnover ratio, but maybe we didn't. And now we look at deflections, which are basically dropped picks. So if Aaron Smith had even one of those deflections, if he had actually caught it, he would have set the school single season record by himself. Ramsauer had 3 forced fumbles. Hall and Fox both had 1. Henderson, Kemp, and Williams all had a fumble recovery. So he recovered 3 of 5 fumbles. That's not too bad. And Henry Fox had a safety. Aaron Smith had 2 defensive touchdowns. Both were probably pick sixes. Henderson and Smith also each had 1. So again, we were just very opportunistic as a defense, and I hope that trend continues. Adam Williams, as a redshirt freshman, went 18 of 25 on field goals. A long of 53, he made 72%. Somehow he missed an extra point. I don't remember where that was. It might have been one I accidentally simmed and he missed it. Go figure. We went 5 of 6 between 20 and 29. He went 6 of 6 from 30 to 39. 3 of 5 between 40 and 49 yards out. And he went 4 of 8 from 50 or longer. And Humbuckle handled the kickoff duties. He did well kicking it off. he only he only had 12 punts on the year, but 4 of them were down inside the 20. So, and he had no touchbacks. So he didn't punt a ton, but he did well when he was asked to punt. Kick return, we had no kick return touchdowns this year, but we did have a punt return touchdown. Really the first time ever. I don't think I'd ever returned a punt before I did it with Tyree. And now we're going to scroll through the bowl results. Houston and USF both won their bowl games. I'm pretty much just stopping to show the bowl results for people in our conference. Temple got crushed by North Carolina. Cincinnati beat Miami 28-22. That's nice. But I'm definitely sensing a move to a different conference. Memphis beat Utah. I think we're going to move to either the Big Ten or the Big 12. As you see right there, Nebraska won their bowl game, so that's always nice. And then, of course, we beat Wisconsin. And now taking a look at the school records, Glopter's got all of them except for passing yards in a game. And if he comes back for a senior year, maybe we try and get him the 482 yards he'll need to set the final passing record. He's got TD in a career already. He's got touchdowns in a game and touchdowns in a season. He got passing yards for a career and for a season. You know, he could definitely get over the 10,000 yard mark by the end of this season, honestly. He could definitely do that at least if he comes back. We don't know for sure if he will or not. But he would just need 482 passing yards, and he'd have set every passing record at Nebraska City. So we'll have to see if he comes back in the offseason. Receiving wise, no one knew. The only 3 that have been set were by Greg McLaughlin last year in season 2 for receiving touchdowns in a game, a season, and receiving yards in a game. Receiving touchdowns in a career, I think Jamal Gonzalez has a shot to break a lot of these records, honestly. I really do. Defensive-wise, Aaron Smith has the school record for interceptions in a game. He tied the school record for interceptions in a season. And I think he's at 9 or 10 interceptions for his career right now, so he would only need 8 more over his final 2 seasons. I think he can get it. But sacks in a career is set at 30, and I like either Kemp or Ramsauer's chances to set it. And actually, Kemp has sacks in the game with 6 and sacks in the season with 18. Well, honestly, since Kemp's a year ahead of Ramsauer, I could see him setting the sack record and then being broken a year later by Ramsauer. Irby's got rushing yards in the season, and that's the only rushing record that's fallen. And those might stay up for a little while, I'm not sure. But looking at the coach changes, we lost both Les Miles and Scott Schaefer at coordinator. That's not really much of a surprise. I mean, they were both head coaches before they came to Nebraska City, so it would stand to reason that they would be head coaches again. But you can see Miles went to Toledo and Schaefer went to North Carolina State. As we look at players leaving, Glopter is not declaring for the draft. He has decided he wants to come back for his senior year. Maybe it's to win a Heisman. Maybe it's for a three-peat. Who knows? But now we take a look at the career stats for our seniors before it's too late. Irby finished with 544 carries, 3,075 yards. Averaged 5.7 yards per carry. Averaged 89 yards or 87.9 yards a game. He had 20 touchdowns, the longest 62. 862 yards after contact, of 13 runs of more than 20 yards and no fumbles. Receiving wise, he had 120 for 854 yards. And you can also see the touchdowns there. I just missed it. Sorry. Kendrick Coe had 28 receptions in both seasons for a total of 56. He had 685 yards, averaged 12.2 yards a catch, 15 touchdowns, a long of 56, 3.1 yards after the catch, and 5 drops. Looking at Burdett Meadows, he had 34 catches, 523 yards, 7 scores, a long of 59. He only had 2 catches that were not during this year. Defensive-wise, Harry Hornbuckle finishes his career with 102 tackles. He had 15 tackles for loss, 6 assisted tackles, so the tackles are solo tackles total. Combining both, he had 108. He had 5 sacks, 2 interceptions, a forced fumble. And so he had a productive career. Henry Fox, the outside linebacker, had 54 tackles, 14 for loss, 5 sacks, a defensive touchdown, 3 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, and a safety. Reggie Myers finishes his career with 10 tackles, 5 for loss, and 2 sacks. Clinton Hearn finishes with 3 tackles, 1 for loss, and 1 sack. And looking at the pro draft results, Irby and Hornbuckle were both drafted. Irby went second round, and Hornbuckle went in the 4th. Looking at recruiting, we are out of scholarships available, so we're just going to dump 15,000 points on the one person we're ahead on and see if he commits without a scholarship. My guess is he probably won't, but it's worth a try. And so now we will go through our commitments. We got Matt Carpenter, a wideout. We got solid catching. He's from Gun Barrel, Colorado. We got Ray Tutins. Ray Tutins. I think it's Tutins, maybe. Maybe it's Tuttons. I don't know. But he's an athlete. He can be a quarterback. He could be a corner. He can maybe even be a free or strong safety. We got Cameron Morris, a halfback from Ogallala, Nebraska. And we recruited him because we wanted a pipeline into Nebraska, which we successfully achieved. We also got Mike Washington, a wideout from Grand Island, Nebraska. Again, helping with the pipeline. And both Morris and Washington are definitely projects. They're going to have to sit for a few years and develop. But they give us a pipeline in our home state, which is definitely one of my big goals for this season. We had Matthew Bailey, a defensive end from Oak Grove, South Carolina. He will likely redshirt a year, and then he might sit for a year or two after that. I don't know. We are stacked at defensive line right now, though. We've got Bob Turner, a quarterback from Blair, Nebraska, and he wants playing time, so maybe he tries and transfers. But if he doesn't, you never know. Maybe he gets to play as a redshirt freshman after Glopter leaves. He's got 80 throw power, 80 accuracy, 79 speed, 74 excel. He's only got 51 carrying. And so we will continue to try and recruit. But now that we've got a pipeline in the state, we're just going to try and recruit the best prospects from in Nebraska, not just necessarily any of them, because we do not have very many seniors right now, and so it will lead to tough cuts down the road, and I just as soon not do that. But McMahon, a free safety from Maplewood, New Jersey, he's committed. He wants playing time as his second interest. He will redshirt his freshman year. I think we'll see what happens. But, just a solid free safety prospect. We also got Alan Ingram from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, And I tried to get a pipeline in Iowa, but didn't particularly work, so I may just cut him. Tim White, a JUCO sophomore outside linebacker from Worthington, Ohio, commits. And, he could play as backup linebacker for his sophomore year. I don't know if we'll redshirt him. We might. Vince Daniels, another outside linebacker prospect from Aiken, South Carolina. He comes in at a 77 overall, but he will be a true freshman, and so we will definitely redshirt Daniels. We might just play White. I'm not sure. But we've also got Pat Hall, an athlete from Falls City, Nebraska. And he's got pretty good coverage ratings. He could be a pretty good corner, I think. Otherwise, he's a running back. Maybe he could play safety, I don't know. But I would say running back or defensive back. We got Terrence Clemens, an outside linebacker prospect. And that's exactly what he is. He's a prospect. It would take a lot of development from him. But maybe he sits for a couple years and contributes as an upperclassman. Who knows? We've also got Jim Edwards, a middle linebacker from Perry, Iowa. And he's a very good prospect. He's going to be a beast right away. The only thing is maybe his coverage ratings aren't as good as I might like in a middle linebacker. Maybe he's more suited for outside linebacker. I don't know. That'll be something we will consider. We also got Cameron Lewis, a cornerback from Farmville, North Carolina. And looking at his coverage ratings, he's a lot better in zone than man. So he will probably redshirt for a year. We'll try and bump up that man coverage a little bit. Chris Carter, he's got better man than zone, but he will also probably redshirt this year. We also got Aaron Hunter, an athlete from Severna Park, Maryland. And he could be a corner. Either that or a quarterback, but we don't really need another one of those. We also got Greg Fisher, a tackle from Thompson, Georgia. He's got better pass block than run block. Not great impact block, and he will probably redshirt. We got John Grimes, a free safety from Sturgis, South Dakota. And he will also redshirt at least for a year. We got Brad Sims, a defensive tackle from Burleson, Texas. And he's someone else who he's just going to have to be redshirted just because we are stacked at defensive line right now. And I mean, we are just stacked. We also got Brandon Harris, a defensive tackle from Sparks, Nevada. He's another good defensive tackle prospect that we're probably just going to have to redshirt. I mean, a lot of these guys are good, but we are just set at defensive line right now, and so we will redshirt them and save them some eligibility, and they'll be beasts for us a year or two down the road. We got Lee Brown, a center from Lenoir, North Carolina. Charles Anderson, an athlete from Houston, Texas. He says he wants playing time, but as one of his key wants. But looking at his ratings, he's probably a running back, maybe a receiver, and we don't really need an instant starter at either of those positions. We also got Jimmy Fowler, a guard. He's got better run block than pass block, pretty good impact blocking. And we got Jamal Clark, a center, and let me tell you, Clark is an absolute beast. Alright, he was featured actually on, I don't know if you guys watch Flemlo Raps, but he has this mini series where he takes, he does his top 5 subscriber recruits that his subscribers pulled in. And Jamal Clark came in 3rd on one of the videos. But look at him. He's got 88 excel, 84 strength. He got dominant pass block, run block, and impact blocking for a freshman. He's just going to be a 4-year stud, a 4-year stalwart on the offensive line. And we've also got Bull McDowell, a punter. Just because we needed a punter, he was good, we're going to take him. But looking at recruiting, we didn't get anybody. Everyone else committed. I'm not necessarily surprised. But Adam Simon did not commit at all. And he did not, and he still has inferred. Like, we didn't put any points on him. We couldn't offer him a scholarship, and he couldn't, no other team could get a commitment from him. That's very surprising. But looking at top classes, Nebraska City with the top class in the country, 2 5-stars, 15 4-stars, and 8 3-stars. And now looking at position changes, I'm not sure. We're gonna run through the positions before we decide where to put athletes. I will probably put one of them at quarterback, just in case Turner tries to leave. That way I don't have to continue worrying about recruiting quarterbacks, although I probably will end up finding someone who can be a quarterback through being an athlete or something. But Jeff Bass, he's going to probably start next year as a redshirt sophomore. Jerry Hornbuckle could definitely get drafted this year, despite not really ever playing a snap. But he's got good skills. He's just been buried behind Randall Glopter. We'd have 299 overall quarterbacks come next season. That would be insane. And then if Glopter got hurt, I would know we would be just fine with having Jerry Hornbuckle coming in. We had so many Hornbuckles, I just assumed this is another one, but technically he's not. And so Bass will be third on the depth chart this year. Turner will redshirt. We'll see if he tries to leave. Then at halfbacks, we got 4 solid ones, and then Cameron Morris. Where if Morris stays on the team, can he play fullback? No. So he's just a developmental prospect, honestly. And we've got 3 fullbacks. James will probably be cut because I do not want 3 of them. We got Washington and Ingram bringing up the rear for receiver. But look how many wide receivers we have. There's just so many of them. And of course they're led by Jamal Gonzalez. Just wanted to see what Micah Smith would look like at receiver. Only be a 66. And looking at offensive line, we will probably switch offensive linemen around, actually. We got three right tackles, only 1 left. We got 1 right guard. So we're going to move Greg Fisher over to left tackle. And we're going to move probably Young over to right guard, I think. Yep, that's exactly what we do. And so now our offensive line positions are more even anyway. And it doesn't really matter. You can play them pretty much. You can pretty much play them anywhere along the offensive line. It's just nice to keep the balance, I think. And so that's what I do with my offense and defensive lines. As you can see, I'm looking at finding someone to move from left end to right end. And it will be Matthew Bailey. He's moved to right end. Now we got 4 right ends, but one of them could easily be cut, I think. Because we got 6 defensive tackles. It's crazy. We got Clemens, leading left outside linebacker, but we are going to move Jim Edwards to left outside linebacker and just find someone else to move to middle. Because you also know, uh, oh man, Stevens is going to definitely improve by a lot. And so we're just trying to find outside linebackers we can move over to middle. Right now we got 2. And we're thinking maybe Tim White. But we're not going to move Tim White. We're not going to move Vince Daniels. We're going to have to move someone or else we're going to get a walk-on. And so finally we just move White. He will probably back up all 3 linebacker positions, honestly. Now we got 4 middle linebackers, so we can move Edwards over to the left. And he will hold down the fort there. Then at corners, we got a lot of them. We're looking pretty good at free safety right now. We got Schneider, a true sophomore, and then 2 true freshmen after him. And so with Aaron Hunter, we will move him to, he could play wide out, but he doesn't have great catching ratings. We'd move him to quarterback. And that's exactly what we're going to do. And move Ray Tutins over to probably on the defensive side. And we will move him to corner, I think. Yep. Charles Anderson. Well, first we're going to look at corners now. And we got lots of solid corners. It's looking like right now Lewis will be number 3. Tutins might redshirt. We might let him be number 4. I'm not sure. We got 2 athletes left. We got Charles Anderson. He's best at wideout, so we'll probably just put him at wideout and redshirt him, but his catching ratings weren't anything spectacular. Now what will we do with Pat Hall? He's a 75 running back. He's a 75 corner. An 80 free safety. Wow. We're going to move him to free safety, and he's going to ball out for us, so that means we got to move Schneider. We are going to have to move Kevin Schneider because, wow, an 80 overall true freshman, heck yes. Which is what Schneider was last, I guess. But we can move him to probably corner, and he's going to get a train. So we'll move him to corner, he'll go up during training. And now we can redshirt maybe all of the 3 freshmen instead of just letting one play just to be third corner. We got a ton of safeties. We just have a ton of safeties. This defensive depth is ridiculous. You have so many good players that I don't want to cut any of them, but it's given us just a ton of people at almost every position, and so we'll see what happens. Although I need all these quarterbacks right now because 2 of them are seniors. In fact, the top 2 are seniors. And I will actually skip training and we'll just skip right to cutting players. You can see how much everyone improved by. You can see how much they all improved here anyway. So we need to cut 8. These are going to be hard cuts, I can tell. I'm not going to cut any of the 5 quarterbacks we have just because that doesn't make sense. Especially if I'm going to try and assume Turner's going to try and transfer. Maybe he doesn't, we just end up with 3. Which, again, that's not a bad scenario. But this way, in case he tries to transfer because he doesn't like being redshirted, we'll still have 2, and if he doesn't, we'll have 3. I mean, we can roll with 3. Morris might end up being cut because we have 4 from Nebraska, 4 players from Nebraska, and only need 3. And then we'll cut our third fullback. We'll cut Ingram, and it says we'll lose a pipeline on Iowa, but we didn't even have one to begin with. So I'm very confused. Either way, he's only a 60. We'll leave him for now, but if we need to make a ton of more cuts, he might just go anyway because he's only 65. We'll cut our third center. He was only a 55 overall, never gonna play. And so we got 6 left. And I hate to cut seniors, but he's never going to play. And we gotta make these cuts somewhere. And I'd rather take a chance on a higher rated freshman who's never gonna play than a senior who's going to be done. We're not going to cut Myrick because I want to redshirt both of the freshmen. Right there, we're gonna cut Sims. So we got 4 cuts left to make. We're looking at corners. We're not going to cut any of them right now. We're going to cut Christian Coles. He was our 4th strong safety. He was only a... And we're going to cut Juan Suggs too, maybe. Maybe not. We're thinking about it. We still got 3 cuts to make somewhere. And I'm thinking one of them's going to be Morris. First, we're going to cut probably... We're looking at all of our receivers. Ingram's only got a 61 catching. He's out of there. Like, you're not going to play wide on and only have 61 catching. Get out. And at the bottom, we don't have a ton of great receivers either. Jackson's only got 67 catch, but as we look further, he's got really good spectacular catch, really good catch in traffic. He got good route running. So for a redshirt freshman, he might be someone we see if his hands can develop over time. Because those other ratings are pretty good. And so before we do anything else, we're going to cut Morris. Now we're going to cut Morris. And we're going to cut one more at receiver probably. And I must confess, at this point I thought I still had 2 cuts to make. And so I think, as I'm looking at catching ratings, I do cut Charles Anderson, I think. And I was like, these catching ratings aren't great. Although 97 jumping was impressive, but the rest of them, I'm like, he's never going to play, maybe. And he doesn't have anything that really stands out except for jumping. So I thought I had 2 to make, and I was going to cut him, and then I was going to cut one of the other 2. And so I thought I still had 1 more left, and when I realized I didn't, I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have cut him, but it is what it is. Too late now. I'll probably find someone I can get to replace him pretty easily. He's had really good jumping was all. Oh yeah, Jamal Gonzalez, 94 route running. Alright, man, I see you. And we also are going to cut Kellen Jones too, I think. He was the other one I would have cut, and I'm like, maybe I'll just cut him anyway. Even though I technically don't need to. I'm thinking about it. And it looks like Jones might be safe for now. Well, I don't know how much I noticed Anderson's 97 jumping when I was making these cuts. Anyway, we come back and we do cut Jones. We cut him anyway, and we went And we made some changes. We moved us to the Big 12. You could see the division right there. We brought Memphis with us, and then we went north and south. In that schedule, we got Toledo week 1, LSU week 3. We played at LSU last year, so we'll play home this year. We got to continue to play our old coach. And we also have to play Troy for our rivalry game for our third one. Looking at redshirt, we're going to redshirt pretty much all of the freshmen. And even one of the fullbacks, so we only need one this year, not two. Or, no, but just so that we don't need a fullback in back-to-back seasons, you know. We're going to cut both, or we're going to redshirt both of the freshman wideouts. We're going to cut a couple of freshmen on the offensive line, the backups anyway. The ones who are going to start, we're going to let them play. We will redshirt Bailey. And we're going to redshirt both Harrison and Sims. And we'll rock with those 4 defensive tackles. We're not going to redshirt White. Or maybe we will. No, I took it off. But Edwards is going to be the starter as a true freshman. White will back up every position, really. Except for maybe middle. But he will back up both outside linebacker spots. And I will redshirt the 2 backup freshmen. We'll redshirt all the freshman corner. We'll redshirt McMahon, and we'll redshirt Grimes. And Pat Hall is going to play as a stud free safety as a true freshman. He already jumped up like 6. He was a gem when we scouted him. And then he jumps up another 5 when we go to put him at free safety. I mean, that's like an 11-point swing right there. Like, he's going to be a beast, I can tell. And so we put Tyree in the slot just because of his speed. And so we're going to give him a chance to... He's going to stay a returner because he was a good returner last year. But we're also going to give him a chance to prove himself as a receiver. And we have White backing up both outside linebacker positions. Mixon's an 87 redshirt sophomore. This team is stacked. Like, they're very, very good. And I'm very excited to be playing in the Big 12. I think we can hold our own against teams like Texas and Oklahoma now. We have built up a good team, and I cannot wait for Season 4 and beyond. Even though we've already won 2 titles, this is one of my favorite series. It's so much fun to play. I've gotten a connection to a lot of the players, but the next video will be Week 1. That'll do it for me, everybody. I'm going to see you guys next time. Have a great day, everyone.